Did you know that there are 2 penalties associated with Social Security? And the good news is that most people won't experience these, but the bad news is that if your employer is not withholding Social Security taxes from your paycheck, you will want to know about the WEP and the GPO penalties. Now, many people assume that their employer is taking care of everything from a tax perspective. We are spoiled in that way. Now, most of our videos are tailored for those who are approaching retirement, and this video is no different. However, this video is highly relevant for people of all ages working for a state or government entity. Let's talk about those 2 important Social Security penalties. Now, when people hear the word penalty, they automatically assume that it's a bad thing, but when it comes to Social Security, that isn't necessarily the case. The 2 penalties are called the Windfall Elimination Period, or WEP for short, and this will apply to your Social Security benefits. The second is called the Government Pension Offset, or GPO. GPO affects anything that you would be entitled to off of somebody else's work record. Think a spouse. Let's start with your benefits first. So the Windfall Elimination Period, also known as WEP. This gets a bit complicated with percentages and numbers, so pause this video here and there's actually a super useful PDF put out by the Social Security Administration, and the link is in the description of this video. It's a convenient 2-pager. You can read how they came up with this thought process and why they have this penalty. I'll also refer to the charts in that PDF in this video. So now WEP is a formula used to adjust the Social Security worker benefits for people who receive what's called a non-covered pension. The Social Security Administration defines non-covered pensions as a pension paid by an employer that does not withhold Social Security taxes from your salary. Typically, again, this is state and local governments or non-US employers. So normally, employees pay Social Security tax that comes right out of the payroll taxes, or FICA. Those dollars then go into the Social Security program. Well, some employers, more specifically state or government employers, have that option for their employees to opt out of paying that Social Security tax. Instead of paying the tax, the employer will give them some sort of a pension to compensate for that. The government sees that and says, well, that's not fair that you're getting a pension and you're not paying into Social Security and you still get your full Social Security benefits. So they decide to reduce your Social Security benefits. This is where WEP comes into play. It's important to note that not just any employer can make these decisions. Most employers don't have a choice. Any average employer can't just say, hey, government, we're done with Social Security, we're fine with WEP. That isn't an option. An employer typically has to be affiliated with the government and under a certain status. Then you can have your employees opt out. It's tricky though, because sometimes employees don't understand the ramifications of this, especially when younger employees initially opt out of this, not thinking about how it will impact their life 30 years in the future. So let's dive into how much this can affect you. And for those who are super detailed, these next few sentences are just for you. For everybody else, don't give up on me yet. You can fast forward like 24 seconds ahead and we'll be back to the bigger picture stuff. All right, Social Security benefits are calculated by applying 3 different percentages to a person's lifetime average index monthly earnings, AIME, and adding them up to obtain the worker's monthly benefit, the primary insurance amount, or PIA, at the full retirement age. The first of the 3 percentages is 90% of the first $1,115 that you earn here in 2023. The WEP PIA replicates the regular PIA in a way, but it scales down the first percentage. So instead of 90% of the first $1,115 that you earn going towards your future Social Security benefit, that is reduced to 40%. If you are experiencing the full WEP penalty, it is set at $557.50 here in 2023. So if you were to take Social Security and your personal benefit was $1,500 a month, it's going to be reduced by $557.50, which leaves you with about $950 a month in your Social Security benefit income. Again, that's if you're experiencing that full penalty. All right, welcome back to those of you who fast forwarded to this point. The Social Security Administration does have a WEP calculator on their site at ssa.gov, which I have put in the description of this video. If you want to see what your reduced benefit may be, go ahead and check that out. If you work for an entity where you do not pay into Social Security, if you have at least 10 years of work, you are still eligible for a Social Security benefit, but the number that's shown on your Social Security statement probably is not correct. The Social Security Administration does not know that you have worked for a company that doesn't take out Social Security taxes until you file and you tell them that you've worked for this type of an employer and that you have not been paying yet. So don't count on that number that you see in your Social Security statement that you get prior to when you file. Just know that if you have less than 30 years paying taxes on Social Security, you're most likely going to have a penalty. Now, that penalty does change with the more years of substantial earnings that you accrue. That drop from 90% down to 40%. With enough years of substantial earnings, you can get that back up to 90% again. Now, if you have 20 or fewer years of what they consider substantial earnings, this year, to be considered substantial earnings, it would be $29,000 or more of income. You had to have earned $29,000 and then paid Social Security tax on that. If all you do is work for the state or government entity that is not withholding this tax, no matter how much you make, it does not count as a year of substantial earnings. Now, we see this all the time where people have a side job, and maybe that's you. You go and you make $29,000 or more a year. With that, as long as you're paying Social Security taxes on that, it would count as a year of substantial earnings. But if the state or the government job is your only job and you're not paying tax on any of that income, it is not a substantial earning year. So if you have 20 or fewer years of substantial earnings, you will have the full WEP penalty when you retire. Now, once you have 21, 22, 23 years of substantial earnings and paying into Social Security taxes with those earnings, the WEP penalty starts to phase out. And once you hit 30 years of substantial earnings, there is no WEP penalty. So we see retirees who have worked 30 years outside of the government entity, and they start working at the government entity as like an encore career to kind of finish things out. They don't have a WEP penalty because they paid in for 30 years prior to this employment arrangement. Or maybe you're starting your career in a government job and you work there for 10 years and then you go on and work 30 years somewhere else paying into Social Security taxes. You're not going to have a WEP penalty either. Okay, so here's the benefit for those of you in this situation. You're not paying 6.2% of your salary to Social Security. You essentially have a 6.2% raise over everyone else by not having this tax taken out of your paycheck. So the light bulb that I hope is going off in your mind is, well, geez, if all of these other employees out there are paying 6.2% to Social Security and I don't have to do that, I should probably defer as much of that as I can into a 401k to help offset this future penalty that I could have on my Social Security, especially if your company is matching 401k contributions. Or you're putting that money into some other investment vehicle. I see comments all the time out there about how Social Security is such a ripoff and if we just invested that money ourselves, we'd be much better off. Well, this is your chance. Okay, I mentioned that for 2023, the substantial income that you had to earn and pay tax on for it to count as a substantial earning year is $29,000. Know that your past years are adjusted for inflation, so that $29,000 figure doesn't stay constant and follow you back to where you had to make $29,000 in 1974. It's an inflation-adjusted amount. In fact, that PDF that I told you about in the description will have those numbers, and I'll pop them up here on the screen. Speaking of 1974, the substantial earnings inflation adjustment amount is $3,300. Now, there is one rule to know, and it is a good thing. They, the government, say we will not penalize your Social Security more than half of your pension. So we see it all the time where, again, you work somewhere for 30 years, and then you go work for the government for a year, and you think, oh no, I'm going to have that $550 penalty. No, you're not going to. The max WEP penalty, if you've worked for a very short time in this arrangement, is up to half of the pension amount that you're getting from the employer. So they figure out how much pension you're entitled to based on that 1 year of work, which would probably be zero because you're likely not even eligible. And so in this situation, you shouldn't have a WEP penalty. But let's say that you worked for 4 years and you've got a small pension and that pension is $200 a month. The max WEP penalty can be $100, half of what they call the non-covered pension. The pension that you're getting because you work for an employer that didn't take out Social Security taxes. Okay, that is WEP. That's the penalty for your benefits if you are the one working for the entity that does not take out the Social Security tax. Now, GPO affects benefits that you're entitled to off of somebody else's work record. If you are looking to get spousal benefits or survivor benefits, meaning that you have a spouse that has passed away or an ex-spouse that has passed away, and you're trying to claim a survivor benefit off of them, then GPO affects you. Here's how it works, and this is a much more simple and easy calculation than WEP. Here it is. They reduce your spousal or your survivor benefit by 2/3 of your pension amount. So if you have a $1,000 pension, they're going to reduce your survivor or Social Security benefit by 2/3 of the pension amount, which would be $660 for that survivor benefit. So let's say that you have a spouse that passed away and their benefit was $3,000 a month, meaning their Social Security benefit is $3,000. Under normal circumstances, you would get all of it. However, if you are or you've worked for an entity like what we've mentioned in this video, and you have this non-covered pension, meaning you didn't pay taxes in and you're entitled to this pension, the government will reduce the $3,000 by 2/3 of whatever your pension is. Okay, so again, if that pension is $1,000, we've established that 2/3 of that is $660. So they're going to reduce the $3,000 Social Security benefit by the $660. If the offset is less than your Social Security benefits, it is known as a partial government pension offset. When the offset reduces your Social Security benefits to 0, then it is called a total government pension offset. So if 2/3 of your pension is more than what your survivor or your spousal benefits would be, then essentially you don't have spousal or survivor benefits. It can be completely wiped out. So again, let's do a quick example to clarify. You have a pension of $2,400 because you work for one of these entities. Your spouse has a PIA of $1,000, which means in a regular world, you would be entitled to a $500 spousal benefit. Well, the GPO penalty comes into play and 2/3 of your $2,400 pension would be $1,600 deducted from any spousal or survivor benefit you would be entitled to. As you can see, the GPO penalty wipes out that spousal benefit entirely, and you're essentially left with no spousal Social Security benefit. Just take your own PIA, which in this situation would probably be really low anyways, and reduced further with your WEP situation, but it's more than 0. Unlike the WEP penalty, you cannot work your way through the GPO, meaning that even if you have 30 years of substantial earnings, you still have the GPO penalty. However, it is limited to only your pension. So if you have a small pension, then this GPO penalty will not be as large. To make it easier for you to understand the impact on your retirement income, the Social Security website provides a government pension offset calculator, which you can find in the description of this video. It estimates how much your Social Security benefits will be reduced based off of your government pension income. Okay, you need to give yourself a pat on the back. I would, but we are separated by a screen. If you made it this far, let's make a deal. I'll give you 2 thumbs up if you agree to give me 1 thumbs up in the form of a like on this video. If this video was helpful or interesting, or heaven forbid both, your second thumbs up could maybe be subscribing to our channel. If you want to reach out with questions around Social Security or Medicare, my email is also in the description of this video. A lot of links down there, but be sure to include your zip code in any emails so we know where you're living. You'll definitely want to check out our website, 90daysfromretirement.com, and that is all I have for this one. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.